Well, folks, welcome to the Noble Man Podcast. I am excited today to have as our guest Pastor Josh Dickens. I met Josh as a student at Southeastern Baptist Seminary, and I don't want to get into too much of this. I'm going to let him tell a bunch of his story, but really excited about what we anticipate will be a series of podcast conversations between noble warriors and a pastor in a local church that's been assigned to men's ministry. So, Josh, welcome to the podcast. Introduce yourself to our guests and listeners.
Thank you so much, Mike. So I serve at Olive Baptist Church in Pensacola, Florida, and my title is Minister of Next Steps. So part of my role alongside seeing men's discipleship is all church assimilation. So people that are getting plugged into the local church, and so assimilation and discipleship kind of brought together in our church. But like you said, we met at Southeastern. I think it was 2022, 2023, somewhere around there, back in my student life days. So with Dr. Ham and Dr. Liederbach, and we were kickstarting what men's discipleship was going to look like there on campus and how to plug guys into the local church. And so you kind of stirred within me a desire and heart to see men be mobilized in the local church and discipled for gospel legacies in their family.
Well, that's a bunch of fun. Yeah, I think one of my first trips down, I had breakfast with you and Dr. Ham and another guy who was an assistant in student life.
Yeah.
And then you worked as an admin with Dr. Lawless for a period of time as well, I think, didn't you?
Yeah, so I left part-time student life, and student life was great. The part-time, not so much, because I wanted to get engaged and married. And so got full-time with Dr. Lawless, was his assistant, who oversees the doctoral program there at Southeastern. He's just incredible. And spent about a year and a half with him before pastored a small rural church about 45 minutes outside of the seminary. And my wife and I stayed there for about a year and a half, and then the Lord called me home here at Pensacola. For her, it's not home. She's from Atlanta, but so it's been an adjustment for her, but a return for me.
Yeah. All right. Now let's back all the way up a little bit. How did you feel called to ministry? Because I know Olive Baptist in Pensacola, where you're serving now, is your home church.
Yeah.
But how did you feel called to ministry? How did the Lord work in your life with that? And then how did you? I know you served as a pastor in kind of a more rural setting, but you're used to a larger church context. And so, tell me about that whole series of events.
Yeah. So as far as the call to ministry, early in high school, I had a desire to pursue athletics with everything in me, and did up until I tell people I got the foot for athletics, and I got a size 11 foot, but I never got the height that goes along with it. And so with that, really just realized, hey, you're not going to be able to do this for the rest of your life. And so began to pray and seek the Lord. And it was along the course of reading Christian biographies, so particularly the autobiography of George Mueller, and then the Eric Metaxas, Dietrich Bonhoeffer biography, that big one. Those two books gave me kind of a character for what it could look like, two guys to look at and say, man, this is what a life spent for the gospel and for the glory of God can look like. And then coupled that with, I was in a small church student ministry at the time where the youth pastor was just giving me opportunities to serve and to lead our little group of students. And so there'd be a church barbecue the students would lead, and he'd say, all right, guys, Josh is in charge. And it was him just calling that out in me that really gave me a desire. And so when we were my family relocated to Olive whenever I was a senior in high school, joined the church then. And it was there that I publicly accepted the call to ministry. And the church did exactly what it's called to do. It brought me in. It started to mentor me.
Right.
But then about a year and a half, I was intern for the middle school ministry and had no idea what I was doing. And what I tell people is for about 5 years, I was underqualified for what I was doing because they just kept giving me more responsibility. But it gave me an open eyes and really exposed me to what ministry looks like. And so from there, that's how they sent me to Southeastern. So I served on staff from 2015 to 2020, was sent to Southeastern, had no intentions of moving back to Pensacola, Florida, didn't leave the church bad in any way, but I was just ready to explore and see the world. Right. And rural ministry can change a lot about that. And so
sure.
During my 18 months as a pastor, Lord really did some good, cool stuff there. And I got the opportunity to preach every week, which was great and helped me develop the discipline of really study for preaching. I had the desire to preach every week. I didn't have the desire to study like I wanted to preach every week. And,
I think that's probably a lot of pastors' scenario, isn't it?
Well, that's what I say about seminary students. I say, I want to preach. I say, you want to preach one sermon. You don't want to preach every week. Right. But so that it helped a lot. But at the end of our time there, it became apparent that it just wasn't the right context for me and my wife.
Right.
And so the Lord moved us home.
Yeah. So one of the things that I love about hanging around with the seminary students is there are a lot of young people getting married. And so I also want to hear that story. Did you meet her at Southeastern? And when in this sequence did you get married? Were you still students, or how'd that all play out?
So at the end of my first year, I came home. I did my seminary internship for the association here in town. And so they just had me in various churches. And then I moved back to Southeastern at the beginning of 2020, at the fall of 2021. And my wife, or soon to be girlfriend at the time, she moved directly above me. So it was like 2-tiered apartments kind of stuff. So I was in the bottom floor. She was in the top floor. And the moment I saw her, I went straight to my car. And we were passing. We met. I went to my car. I called my best friend and said, the girl who moved in upstairs has the most amazing eyes. And I'm going to go out with her. And of course he was like, oh, whatever, man. And so following month, I asked her out. She politely declined. And so, which began us our long journey. She came to Southeastern for missions. I was there to be a pastor, and the two shall never ever be together, right? And so we had to walk that road together. But
wow, well, that is a sweet story. And you got married before you left, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before you finished your degree.
Yes. So I got married my last year, so I was my third year student, and then it was her second year, and so we rounded it out. I graduated the year that we got married, and then she graduated the following year. So.
Okay. So there's one other piece of this that I want to set. I kind of thought you had grown up at Olive, but it sounds like you did not get there until your senior year of high school. So you were in a different church context, and it sounds like that might have been a smaller church than Olive, and you guys moved to that area. So you had a different church experience as maybe middle school and early parts of high school. So is that was correct?
Primarily a church planting type environment, actually.
Okay.
So especially in middle school, take down, set up, tear down, all on Sunday. It was in a movie theater. And then that church got their own property, a storefront property. So there's about 150 people. But yeah, really small context compared to where I'm at now. Yeah.
And was that in Florida as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was in Florida, yeah.
Okay. So you've, in your short experience, well, I mean, it's a decade plus, you've had a church planting context that you were part of as a middle and high school student, then a larger church context, high school, college, and then you came to Southeastern, to Wake Forest, had some experience there, then a rural church, and then back to Olive. So that's kind of your pathway. You got to Olive, and you're the minister of Next Steps, but under that is men. So tell me about, in your job description, what is the expectation for you as it relates to men's discipleship or men's ministry at Olive Baptist Church?
So as far as what our men's ministry looks like and the expectations that come with it, we have a weekly Bible study that takes place on Wednesday nights at 6:00. So that and that has looked in different ways and it's taken on different forms over the past few years. But primarily, it's a master teacher type event. So you will have a 40-minute teaching that goes along with that. We've pivoted some of that since I've taken over. It's still a 40-minute teaching, but we have a small group discussion that comes with it. And then we have a monthly men's breakfast as well. So the first Tuesday of every month, 6 a.m., we have a men's breakfast that meets. And that's primarily just a preaching slot. So guys will come to be encouraged, hear word. We'll have a breakfast out, usually lots of biscuits and gravy and sausage and all the good stuff. And so for about an hour, we'll jam-pack that with as much value as we can. So those are the two primary ways that we've been reaching men over the past 3 to 4 years.
So what is the mandate that you've been getting, that you've been given? Was it, hey, Josh, come in here and maintain status quo, or Josh, we'd really like to see what you could do with this, or what are your marching orders? Yeah,
so it's just to see what we can do to reach all men. Within our context, I think that we've done well with the guys that are in the room, but we're finding that there's just a certain demographic that's been in the room historically. And so we really are called in the new mandate is, hey, let's reach every man at Olive, take them as far as we can to the highest capacity that they're willing to go. And so that's been the latest kind of reiteration and target for what we're trying to pivot to.
Yeah. So let me, at this point, when I'm having a conversation with a guy about their church and what they're already doing, and folks, just to take a pause, Josh and I had a preliminary conversation about a month and a half ago, I think, and I actually asked some of these questions. So I'm re-asking some of these questions in this context, just so that we can hear the responses. But then one of the questions that I'll ask is, tell me about the church in terms of numbers. How many people would worship at Olive on a given weekend?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so on a typical Sunday, we have 2 campuses. So on a typical Sunday on the main campus, we'll have somewhere between 2,600 to 2,800 in-person attenders. And then the second campus, which is about approximately 13 miles away from our main campus, it's outside of the Navy base here in town. We're a big Navy town. Yeah. There'll be somewhere between 250 to 300 people there. So we're reaching right around ballpark 3,000.
Okay.
Every weekend. Yeah.
And that's the people who are there each week. That's the weekly count. Your probably membership is much more substantial than that, because you've got people that are missing 1 or 2 weeks a month. I mean, that's part of what we continue to recognize, that regular church attendance doesn't necessarily mean every week anymore. It's part of what
regular church attendance is now classified as once to twice a month. And
wow,
which is wild to me.
So with that, then you guys are probably looking at a membership that could approximate 10,000.
Yeah, just around. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. All right. So then I want to ask you, your Wednesday night Bible study, and you're the primary teacher for that now, right?
Yes.
That's your regular assignment. Tell me how many guys participate in that.
So earlier in the semester, we were right around 50, and those numbers have dipped. Really, attendance has dipped throughout as we've kind of come closer to the summer. But so we're reaching anywhere between 40 and 50 in that Bible study weekly. Okay.
And your monthly men's breakfast, when you say those guys roll out and you're getting a certain group of guys, what's our number there?
About 100.
Okay.
Yeah.
And would you say that most of the guys who come to the Wednesday Bible study are also coming to the monthly men's breakfast? Is there overlap there, or is it two different groups?
There's significant overlap. It's not complete overlap, but it's a pretty significant overlap.
Yeah. So I actually just met today at lunch with a leadership team from a local church, and their average weekly attendance is about 135. And so for them to hear that 100 guys would come to a men's event, it sounds like, that's awesome. But when you're looking at a church with a membership and a reach as far as you guys have, hitting 100 guys, there's a lot of room for growth there.
Yeah.
And so that's part of what we talked about. I know that when we were on the phone before, we talked about some resources, some books, and so I won't try to backtrack all of that, but I'll let you just kind of speak to that. When we got off the phone that first time, you texted me and said you just ordered a bunch of books. And so what about our conversation, what caught your attention most, and what have you kind of leaned into already since we talked about what it looks like to reach and build men at Olive?
So there's a few things that I think we talked about. I'll love to geek out on the books here in a moment. I think I ordered maybe 15. So the first one was you had mentioned that primarily in men's Bible study sessions, we had talked about the issue facing when you come into I'll use the men's breakfast for an example. You walk into the men's breakfast and your key leaders, those guys who are the decision makers, they're not there in the room. You mentioned you use the acronym Romeo. Yeah, and I'll butcher it, but I think you said really old men eating out, or what is it?
Retired old men eating out.
Retired old men eating out. So I've kind of put that in the back of my mind we want to make our men's breakfast the time where, all guys come because it adds value. So it's not a second tier slot. It's not a time where we're just up there riffing, trying to come up with something on the fly or have only prepped it the day before. But we've really tried to equip that time where we've got senior leadership buy-in for that breakfast now, which has been excellent. And so we're on next week will be our third one, where our numbers have increased because we've tried to not just reach the Romeos, but get quality content for all. So that's been one thing we had for the conversation that was really helpful. And then I read Patrick Morley's Pastoring Men.
Yes.
That was the first book I read. So that is his actual strategic playbook for how to reach men, how to launch a men's ministry. That was wildly helpful for me, especially in regards to, and it's kind of funny, all the gold nuggets were in the very back of the book. It's everything beforehand was really good, but when it comes to establishing a leadership team, that was really solid. And so I've almost just, if you could sue me for copyrights at this point, because I'm just playing his playbook. And
awesome.
And so so that's been wildly helpful. So if someone was to purchase that book, no shame, and just you go straight to, I think it's chapter 13. Just read chapter 13, and everything else is good. But that's where all the gold is. And then have dove into the Freedom Fight is another one that's what we're using for
a purity book.
For a purity book, that's a purity group that we've launched for guys fighting pornography addiction. And then there's a few others that are mixed in there. You mentioned Why Men Hate Going to Church, How to Disciple Men, The Man in the Mirror, some others that have been really, really helpful. And so that's good. My summer list that's like rising really quickly is The Toxic War on Masculinity. I haven't dove into it, but it's been recommended so many times that I have to read it soon. So
sure.
But yeah.
Well, good. So it sounds like you're already seeing the needle move a little bit in terms of even senior leadership buy-ins. So tell me about your lead pastor, your senior pastor's posture toward men. Is he seeing this as an area in the church that he wants to invest in, and he's willing to not only give you the responsibility, but to come alongside you and be part of that?
Yeah, no. So our pastor is Pastor Ted Traylor. Pastor Ted has been 100% behind men. Really, he's been here. And one of the remarkable things about his tenure is he's here this year. He's celebrating his 35th year at Olive.
Wow, that's a long time.
And so, our church is. If you go back to the 1970s, we've only had 3 pastors. And
Wow.
so it's just been real steady-handed leadership that's been one of the real blessings from God on us. And so, but he's always targeted men and tried to help develop men. And he'll preach to men directly from the pulpit very often. And so it's just an easy shoe-in that it's in the Patrick Morley book you mentioned in our previous conversation, is we're bringing him into that men's breakfast 3 to 4 times a year now.
Yeah.
Is the moving plan moving forward. And because he can't be there every Wednesday,
Sure.
There's various responsibilities and stuff, but he can come preach on Tuesday mornings, and it helps the younger guys form a relationship with him. Helps our guys all around just hear his heart for men. And so that's been a really, really easy victory that we've been able to establish very early on. And he's more than happy to do it as long as he's available. And so that's been something that we've been able to bridge the gap really early. So the first men's breakfast that we put on together, he was preaching for the highest attendance we've ever had,
Wow.
which I wouldn't expect any different. And so that's been really, really helpful. So having his support's been great, and then there's been some other support that's come around and also been really good from the staff. So
awesome. So when we talked last, that's when you told me that you were the primary teacher for this Wednesday night Bible study, and we talked a little bit about your experience with preaching to men versus preaching to a regular congregation, and what you were learning in that context, and how it was a little bit different preparing to preach to those guys on Wednesday night. And so speak to that a little bit. What have you learned about yourself as a preacher and pastor when you're focused on the men in front of you and seeing a message penetrate their hearts?
Well, I've learned that you can never spend too much time on the application portion of the sermon when you're speaking to men. And I think that's true across the board, but other crowds are probably more forgiving. But if it's not applicable, guys they're not going to respond. And so that has been maybe the most helpful. And we've done some stuff to bring along some of that application and fortify the sermon. But as I prepare every week, I am constantly looking through books, articles, anything I get my hands on to jam it into this sermon to give some kind of handle for what they can take away this week.
All right. Well, let me pause you there, because it's Thursday as we're recording this. So I assume you preached last night, and I think you told me, were you preaching through the book of James? Is that what you're doing there?
Last night we had a post-Easter fish fry. So
okay.
I took 1 week off, but you're right. We finished James recently.
Okay. Give me an example of a way that you made a message applicable from the book of James that you think landed particularly well with guys, that you could see in their eyes, the guys picked this up, they got it, and it landed.
So, and this is, I completely steal almost everything that I get. Nothing of it's original. So I'll try to give credit. This is from Dr. Lawless. But so in James chapter 5, he talks about prayer, and we really highlighted prayer that night. Prayer in our lives, prayer that changes things. Prayer is what moves our religion to a relationship with Christ. And so we're talking a lot about prayer. And Dr. Lawless had previously talked. Of course, he's known for writing books about prayer and spiritual disciplines and all this kind of stuff. So he's the master at it anyway. But he had told me, man, in your life where you're struggling to say for patience, you're not going to wake up one day and become a patient person. You're not going to go to bed impatient and then wake up in the morning and be patient. But if you make an effort, you pray every day, God, make me patient. And it could just be a simple sentence prayer, Lord, make me patient today. And as you look for opportunities, man, you look over the course of your life in 2, 3, 6 months, you're going to become more patient. And as you become more patient, you'll become a patient person. And so he had given me this handle and put a reminder in your phone. 8 a.m. every day, it pops up on your phone, pray for patience. And I have, this is my confession. I pray for patience every day. And Lord, make me patient. Well, I have had so many guys come up to me and they say, man, anger's in my phone. Man, lust is in my phone. And I remind her, pray against lust, pray against anger, pray that the Lord would make me better with money. We have so many guys that every day now they're just praying these one sentence prayers as they fight their sins. That's been remarkable. And that was something that, in all honesty, I didn't, and it's part of what I'm learning about preaching. I didn't highlight that in the message. If I would have known who I was going to take it, I probably would have spent 20 minutes there. But it's just something that I maybe have mentioned off on the side, and they just ran with it. And so that has been really good. And then I found some helpful frameworks. If you've read John Tyson, Intentional Father, or Fighting Shadows, some really helpful stuff in there. I found, guys latch on to, if you can give them 3 tools or 5 ways or whatever it is, and you just begin to list. There doesn't have to be a lot of content surrounded around it. You need to clarify what you're talking about. But outside of just to give them a list, hey, 3 tools, 5 ways to build this, or whatever it may be, to improve your marriage, to fight against lust, they just stick to that. And and I've if I tell them I'm going to give them any kind of list of tools or helps, I see every pin in the room go up. Whereas opposed to if I just exegete verse 1, they appreciate it, but that's probably where it ends.
But they're looking for some compact, bullet-pointed handles that they can grab to take something home with them. I use this analogy. We've got a cast iron pot it's a 10-gallon pot that we use to cook stews and chili and all kinds of stuff in the backyard at our fire pit, and there's no handle on it, and so you can't pick the thing up very easily because it's like carrying this big cast iron ball. It's heavy, but I made 2 hooks that I put on the side, and man, I can pick it up and carry it all over the place because I've got some hooks that allow me to grab the weight and manage it. And so I think that's part of what we need to remember as we're talking to men. You can give them heavy things. You just have to have really good handles for the heavy things that you want to give them.
That's right.
If you give them heavy truth with no handles, they're not going to be able to pick it up and take it home with them. But and if they leave it there in the sanctuary, it's really done no good. And what you have to prayerfully seek to get those handles that they can take the principles home with them. So that's an awesome statement. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, I made the commitment very early on. So our tagline, where our group is called Ordinary Men Following Jesus. So we take that from Acts 4, where it says that the Peter and John, they were thrown out, and it says that they knew that they had been with Jesus. They were just ordinary guys, but they had been with Jesus. And so we say that Ordinary Men at Olive is for all men who want to devote all their life and who want to talk about all their life, who want to give themselves all to Jesus. And so we made the commitment early on in our teaching that if we're going to give ourselves all to Jesus and we're going to talk about all things, we can't just be here just for head knowledge. It has to give some handles, has to give some practicality. We're here for transformation. Which makes the teaching moment a lot more, it's just more time consuming in preparation. But the benefit has been huge.
Yeah. Well, the feedback that you get from guys says it all when they're telling you that they're putting something into practice that you have taught them. Josh, how old are you?
I'm 30.
30. And so you're teaching guys that are older than you probably in these contexts.
Almost 100%, yeah.
Is that intimidating to you? How does that feel?
And I've actually gotten some advice on this, and I was told, don't try to overcome it, just own it where you can't need to.
Yeah.
And so we've put a leadership team together of lay leaders. And those lay leaders, they range, almost all of them are older than me, but they range from guys who are in similar stages of life to all the way up to 60s and 70s. And so having their support has really legitimized what I've been up to and what we've been doing in the group. And then also, it is a little intimidating. I'm 2 days ago, I was sitting across the table from a guy at lunch, and he's saying that what we're doing at church is really blessing him and his ministry and what he does personally in his personal ministry. And I don't have a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old like he does at the house. And so it's humbling. It's really humbling.
Sure.
It's both and, having older guys that can come and bless what the younger guys is doing and buy in, what makes all the difference in the world. I wouldn't be able to do it without them.
Right. So you finished up James on Wednesday night. Where are you going next? Where are you starting next week?
So we're starting a series called Habits of Holy Men.
Okay.
And that's just going to look various texts as we go through. So the first week will be prayer, scripture, fasting, evangelism, and then one that we're calling initiation for guys to take initiative in their lives and really put aside any kind of passiveness. And so those 5 will be what we highlight rolling into the summer. But we'll roll us into, don't know when this will air, but May 28th will be our last Wednesday that we'll kind of do this formalized grouping. And then throughout the summer, we'll pivot a little bit before we come back around in the fall and restart what we've been up to. Okay.
Now, so that's what I want to talk about for a little bit as we go here. You've got 5 more weeks before you guys take a break for summer, right? Mm-hmm. As May concludes and you move into June. As you lead the men's ministry, men's discipleship initiative there, what plans do you have for the summer, maybe to train some guys or something like that, mm-hmm. or are you planning to do anything different for the fall? And is that something that we can talk about in coming weeks? Part of what I'd like to do is use this as an opportunity to really serve you and kind of walk through some of those ideas together. Mm-hmm. So what do you see or desire for the summer and then into the fall?
Yeah. So in the summer, we're breaking up our 40, 50 guys. And the reason for that is just that families go on vacation, the church calendar changes. The summer's just always fluid for everyone. And so to do a series throughout the summer just wouldn't make a lot of sense because nobody's going to be able to get any kind of cohesiveness out of it. So we're signing some guys to lead book discussions. And so we're going to walk through 3 books. The first one's The Intentional Father by John Tyson.
Okay.
The next one is a book called The Measure of a Man.
Yeah, Gene Getz.
The True Measure of a Man. And then the the third one is called The Titus 10 by Josh Smith. Josh Smith, yeah. And so those 3, we'll just be running those throughout the summer. And then we'll strategically place a few Wednesday nights where the church calendar allows it, that we'll just advertise, hey, our Ordinary Men's going to talk about blank tonight, and have some lay leaders go in the room and just be available, teach it where their specialty lies. And so that'll be what we do throughout the summer. That we've kind of we've thought about it and strategized for it, but we've also just kind of fallen back, and I think this may be the best thing moving forward. We don't want to surrender the summer, but at the same time, we realize that we can't go full throttle. So,
right, absolutely, and I think that's wise, is because what you have to do is lower your expectations for what people are going to do, so that you don't create a bunch of disappointment for yourself. I mean, it just is what it is for the summertime, and so you just have to lean into that. So then as you go into the fall, do you have a strategic plan, or is that something that you're looking to map out, or what does the fall look like? Are you going to change what you're doing?
We're going to keep rolling with what we're rolling with on Wednesday nights. The Wednesday night group, and that has given us probably the most instant traction that we've had. And so that has been excellent. We're going to keep doing that. We're going to roll into a study through Judges, a study through the book of Jonah. And so just work our way through books of the Bible, but do it with the intentionality and the tilting it towards teaching towards men. And that will be what we do. And I don't think I'd mentioned this, but we teach. What the Wednesday night looks like is we teach for about 35 to 40 minutes, but then we break up into small groups around round tables with discussions.
Okay.
And so those discussion tables is really where the traction is. That's what keeps guys showing up, is they're going to hang out with their table host. And so we'll do that. We'll continue doing the breakfast throughout the fall, but we're adding what we're just calling the big men's event. We don't have a name for it. We'll brand it and do something later down the road.
Sure.
But right now it's just a placeholder in the calendar. We want to do something where every guy on campus can be here. It'll be during football season, so it'll probably look something like tailgating and have that where every guy on campus that's a member at Olive can participate and do something beneficial. Where he can receive something, hopefully for fathers and sons and granddads, and anybody can come. But we've realized too, and I think Patrick Morley speaks to this. I mean, we want to constantly create environments where men feel safe and invite them in to study. But I cannot, and not every guy is going to come to Wednesday or Tuesday. And they're going to be serving in children's and youth. And we got faithful deacons and committee members and 1,000 things going on. So I want to have a few events strategically throughout the year where it's like, man, every single guy can come to this, so we can reach every man. And then let the chips fall where they may. Because if you're serving somewhere, we're not going to pull you for that to come join a Bible study. But we certainly want to equip you too.
Now, one of the things that I talk with guys about is when you do a big event like that, that creates an opportunity for you to offer a right next step, a new small group opportunity to launch something. So that may be further down the road, but have you guys talked about using that big men's event, which I think is a perfect name, quite honestly. I would just stick with that. So have you thought about or talked about launching a small group initiative, maybe something that meets in the early morning or something like that? Because I find that resonates with a lot of guys. That may be a heavy lift, but are you guys talking about that?
We're talking about the follow-up. We don't know what the follow-up is yet. It'll be something along the lines of D groups, small groups, something. And so whether it's launching D groups but we need a clear next step. And that's still, we're working with that. I've talked with we have a women's director as well who wants to come alongside, and she's going to try to launch D groups as well. And so we think, man, it'd be great if we could launch with the same curriculum, same format, and just have men's and women's running separately. And so these are the conversations were taking place. We don't know exactly what it looks like yet. But yeah, I think to have a couple of hundred men on campus and to not give them a next follow-up step, all that does is
it's tragic.
It doesn't do anything good for our men at all. And so we've got to have that follow-up.
Well, good. Well, I tell you what, let's I'm looking forward to keeping this conversation going. So we'll schedule another time to get together if that's okay. That'd be great. And maybe we'll dig into some of the Patrick Morley stuff specifically. I think it would be really cool for us to have a rich conversation about that, and then just kind of get a finger on the pulse of how these latest teachings are going on Wednesday night, and then think through a couple of other things, maybe even look at that D group scenario, or just talk a little bit about what the follow-up to the big men's event looks like, or even your planning for the big men's event. Because I'm just excited about having the privilege of walking with you and hearing how the Lord is using you in this context, and hopeful that this will be some inspiration for some other guys. Maybe some ideas will come out of this that some other pastors with this assignment will find valuable. So it's great stuff. Well, thanks for joining us, Josh. This is it's a gift. Mike. I appreciate your time.
Yeah.
So
thank you so much.
Well, folks, this will close us down for this episode of the Noble Man Podcast. I'm so thankful to have Pastor Josh Dickens with us, and be on the lookout for another installment. We're going to do this hopefully as a monthly conversation with a men's pastor in a local church. And so I'm looking forward to this ongoing conversation with Josh Dickens. So, folks, thanks so much for joining us. Please share this with others along the way, and God bless you. Take care.